For those who don't know me, I'm Pascal. I'm CTO here at Data Minded, and very happy to actually present the very first talk. State of data. In this talk, like some of our team is going to share their experiences of 2022. Before I actually give the word to the first speaker, I want to take you a little bit further back. The last 10 years are sometimes referenced as the decade of data. And if I look back personally, like it's about 10 years, I think a little bit more, when I encountered my first use case where I actually had to look into big data technologies. And it's about the same time when I actually was working together with Chris, when we were talking about like, can we do something more than linear trend lines and linear regression, and how are we going to explain this to customers? If we now look forward to like 2022, like a lot has happened in this industry. We had a tremendous momentum in the industry. And if you actually, I recently came across this chart, and what it actually shows is the momentum, but from a VC point of view. So here you actually see in the last 10 years, the amount of money that's being invested in data. And it started about 10 years ago, like more and more money is being invested, with an absolute apex in 2021, with about like 60 billion being invested into data startups, which is gigantic. Like you see 2002 is a little bit lower. I guess you all know why it's a little bit lower. The numbers aren't final, but it won't be there. It will be a little bit lower, but it shows this gigantic momentum that lives in this industry for actually the last 10 years. And of course, like what happens when you invest a tremendous amount of energy and you have all this momentum, you get a data landscape that actually goes from something like this in 2012 to a data landscape that looks like this today. So many new tools. I think today we have more tools and technologies available than we ever had before in the data space. But of course, like for organizations to actually leverage all of that, they need people. And especially in the early days, you had a very new space, very new technology, so there weren't that many people available. So what happened is actually we really went into a war on talent. And I think still today, like it's very hard for organizations to find the right profiles. And so how do you actually solve this war on talent? Well, one solution is actually getting more people into this space. So what actually happened is we started calling everything the sexiest job of the 21st century. Right? Like it started in 2012 with actually data science being called the sexiest job of the 21st century. And then over the years, like I think like any data job has been called at some point the sexiest job of the 21st century. I have a different opinion what the sexiest job of the 21st century should be, but everybody's agreed, like a lot of these things are always referenced with data. And I think it's very important to actually see this happening. Now, of course, more and more people have actually, due to this, like more and more people have actually gone into the data space, but the demand has also like kept on growing and growing and growing. And so still today, we are short on people all the time. So what else? Are there additional things that companies can do? And I want to highlight 3 things what I think organizations are doing today and what they can start doing today. And one of the first things I want to highlight is using existing skills. And I think more recently, this has become way more visible. Like we've gone all the way back from the early days. Nowadays, we're going back to SQL. And we see this in the tooling, every tooling going back to SQL, supporting more SQL. And most large organizations have already SQL professionals at their organization. So it seems like a very strong match. And on the side of that, that also explains why tools like dbt are so popular nowadays. If we then look at like a second point, it's all about shift left. So what does shift left actually means? It's all about moving things earlier up in the process, so everything downstream actually benefits from this. So we've seen this in the data space happening with data quality testing, with metadata, but also at an organizational level, right? If we look at nowadays, we're moving ownership all the way back to the business domains, and we call that then data mesh. But everything, or the entire organization downstream benefits from those movements. The last point I want to highlight is the focus on enablement. And what do I mean with focusing on enablement? It means like creating the right culture within your organization, creating the right tools, providing the right tools and the right processes so people can actually own data in production. And this has also given rise to concepts like golden paths and paved roads, but it's also created like a new role. And that new role is, of course, the platform engineer. And I think like all these things are about like making organizations better, more efficient in dealing with data. And given the current economic climate, I think these three things will actually become even more important in 2023. And it's exactly these 3 points about using existing skills. It's about shifting left, and it's about enablement that 3 people of our team are going to talk about. And I'm happy to give the word to the first speaker, Yelena. Thank you.